Hello, Midlife Maven. It's mid-December, and if you're eating Russian tea cakes like it's your J.O.B., today's episode of the Midlife by Design pod is for you. Not talking to myself. Part Midlife Health 101 and part understanding how a splenic projector does her thing, this episode will give you a boost to get back on track. I'm talking to Brit Kelson, a women's health and wellness coach who specializes in helping women lose weight through nutrition and strength training. Lift heavy shit. Brit helps us understand the basics of midlife wellness, including protein, stress, and the dreaded mental belly, all through the eyes of an aligned projector. You'll hear me talk about pieces of her chart that help her do her job so very well. I'm your host, Lori Lisai, human design teacher and midlife coach, here to help you use human design to shed others' expectations and be who you came here to be. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Midlife by Design. Today I have with us Brit Kelson, and I am so excited to chat with Brit. We met a couple of years ago through her podcast. Brit is a wellness coach, and I am so excited to have her here to talk with us today about wellness. So welcome, Brit. Thank you so much for being here. And can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, awesome. Thank you so much, Lori. Yeah, so I am Brit, like you said, women's health and wellness coach. I coach through an app called The Faster Way to Fat Loss. And my real passion is just helping women, who want to lose weight, achieve that goal in a healthy, sustainable way without dieting and through learning about nutrition and strength training. I just think that that is so important to build muscle, especially as we age. So that's kind of my true mission, is to get more women lifting weights. And I think the other thing that really brought me to this whole space in general is realizing that what a woman or a mother cooks for her family impacts the future generations. So I just really want to show women that they can eat whole foods, try to get away from processed foods, and to really impact their kids. So that's why I do what I do.
So good. So can you tell us a bit about your journey, like how you got into this?
Yeah. So I was a TV news anchor before this, and always a little bit heavier. I had an agent who, told me that I needed to lose weight if I wanted to make it to a bigger market. And most women have stories, whether, how young they were in their teen years or a time when they felt ashamed of their bodies. And so my story is no different. Someone told me that I needed to look a certain way to achieve a goal. And just those kinds of things always stuck in my mind. And I didn't know how to lose weight. So I did what every woman, I think, tries to do, which is the messaging of the media, which is eat less. So you try to eat less, but guess what? That doesn't work. And then you end up gaining more. So I was sort of on a cycle for many years of trying to yo-yo diet and eat less, but then keeping, gaining more all the time, year after year, and didn't understand why. And I finally sort of, I would say, unlocked what was holding me back. I did a lot of self-awareness, kind of a lot of journaling, a lot of meditation, and really figured out some past traumas and things that were kind of, I would say, holding the weight on almost. And once I released that and kind of figured out how food is really medicine, I was able to change things for me.
Awesome. And for women in midlife, with our bodies changing and hormone fluctuations, of course, talk about not being able to lose weight in the same way that you once did, right? It is completely
so hard.
Yeah. So do you work with a lot of midlife women, and how does your approach change with them?
Yes, that's such a good question. And you are so right, Lori. Things that you used to do in your 20s just don't work anymore. A lot of women, like I mentioned, chronic dieting, they try to eat less, and then they try to go to these really intense workout classes and try to work off every single calorie that we ate. And that just doesn't work, especially like you said, hormones are changing, hormones are dropping. and your body no longer responds to that anymore. So when I work with women, I think a lot of the things that we work on is self-love. Let's no longer focus on the number on a scale. That number on a scale doesn't really give us a whole lot of information. What we should be focusing on is, how are we sleeping? How are you feeling? What's your energy level? Just overall wellness is so important. How are you moving? How's your mobility? Are you able to walk and, not get out of breath? Things like that we're really starting to focus on. I think shifting that is what really helps women, instead of chasing, your jeans you wore in high school or the size you were, when you got married. But now we're focused on, how are you feeling? How do you want to feel? How do you want to show up? Maybe there's grandkids in your future. What kind of a grandma do you want to be? Do you want to be on the floor running around with them? You got to start to think about those things. And that's kind of, I think, the next step for women, is just to, forget trying to chase your 20s and to think about longevity is really what we work on.
Yeah, so true. And we've got this youth obsessed culture. I think there's more and more attention being given to women in midlife, because there are more of us than there ever have been on this planet living this long. And so I think that there's a lot more attention being given to what happens with these changes with hormones and weight gain. And slowly it feels like we're coming out of this obsession with youth. You've mentioned a couple of times this piece about self-love and how that was part of your journey. And women in midlife really need that self-love component to come back around, because we do look different. Our bodies just look different as we age. And so you mentioned journaling and some other practices that you had done through your own experience. And I'm curious if you could share a little bit more about those, and or other work that maybe you do with your clients to help them love themselves and help them truly love their new bodies, essentially.
Oh, yes. I love that. So one of the things we can do is we can practice gratitude. So even before our feet hit the floor in the morning, just thinking, or if you have a notepad next to your bed, or just saying it to your partner, if you have a partner, just 3 things that you are grateful for before you even get started on the day. And what that's really doing is sort of resetting your mindset, and it's training your brain to see things positively. And so many times, we all know those people who are negative, who see the glass half empty all the time. And really, that's just a mindset shift. If you are always thinking that way, that's kind of going to be the trajectory of your day. So I always think, let's just start the day positive. If you have kids or you have a partner, have a conversation with them too, as everyone's headed out the door to go their separate ways into the busy day. Say to your children, hey, what are you grateful for today before you go out the door? And they'll start to do that as well. Say to your partner. And it can be as simple as, the sun is out today. Oh, the sun is out. I mean, just that little thing, and kind of take it almost like a mental picture of what that day, when you look out the window and you see the sun, and you just a tiny little snapshot. Those are the things that kind of stick with your core moments and memories. And that's the whole point of also meditation, is to just slow down our busy lives for 1 second, think about something positive, and that'll kind of set up your day in that way, which I think is so important. Another thing that I love is when you walk into a bathroom and you see yourself in the mirror, just smile at yourself. It could be so hard to do, or even give yourself a wave or a little, hey, how's it going? Those kinds of things. How often do we walk into a bathroom and we see ourselves and we immediately, oh, my hair. Oh my gosh, is that a wrinkle? I mean, we just pick ourselves apart. And so to kind of, again, just be mindful of those little moments and the little things that you say to yourself constantly over and over again. And when you see yourself in the mirror, just a little wave, a little smile, those types of practices eventually really start to make a difference. So those are a few things that I do. Also journaling, that's such a great one. It could be at the end of your day or at the beginning, wherever you will be the most consistent and when you have the most time. So that might be at night if you have a little nighttime routine that you want to create, whether you get a nice cup of hot tea, you sit on your bed and you put your legs up on the wall. Have you ever done that, Lori? It's kind of a fun. It's just a great way to get the circulation going. It's great if you're traveling, if you've been traveling all day, you put your legs up on a wall. You could read a little bit of a book. You could do your journaling or some gratitude. And it's a great way to just wind down from the evening to kind of set yourself up for bed. It also helps with digestion and just kind of, create a good nighttime routine that makes you feel good. You want to journal a little bit about either your day, but again, I try to keep it positive. So, talk about the good that happened in the day, or maybe some goals that you achieved or someone that you helped. Things like that can really start to just, again, change your mindset. That's all that we're really trying to do.
Yeah. Wise words from my projector friend here. And I love that you mentioned doing those things first thing in the morning, especially just as you're opening your eyes, and you can capitalize on that theta state and start to reprogram that subconscious, because our brains and that part of them called the reticular activating system, it's trained already to pick out all the negatives. That helps keep us away from the saber-toothed tiger and all those things that are going to chase us and eat us. But we don't need that so much anymore, right? And so really training yourself takes conscious effort. So I love those suggestions for being able to do that. So a couple of things that I want to talk about in relation to your human design. One of them is that you are a splenic projector. So your decision maker is all about using your intuition. And my experience in talking to splenic projectors has been that usually they have one kind of way of hearing their intuition more so than other ways. And usually it's one of the clairs. So like clairaudient, they hear things. Clairvoyant, they see images. Claircognizant, they know things. Clairsentient, they feel things. So like the clairs, is there one way that you feel your intuition speaks to you, and how has it helped you decide like what is right for you?
Yes. Yeah. So absolutely. As you're saying that, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's happened to me a lot. And I'm not sure which one it is that you just mentioned, but it's the knowing. That's what it is. It's just this very strong knowing. And I can't even explain it, but it happens a lot with friends or someone who's telling me they're telling a story or they're telling something, and I get this feeling, and it's very hard for me to not, want to shout it from the rooftop to them and tell them. But I just kind of have this knowing. So yeah, it's very strong for me.
Yeah, that's claircognizance.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm curious, do you feel like there's a physical feeling in your body?
A little bit.
Yeah.
It's not like it. Yes. Yeah. And it's almost like right under my ribs. Very strong. And I keep touching it as we're talking about this. I'm not even sure why, but it just, not a pulsing, but almost like a light, can you see my hand? A light, kind of like that. A light, I guess a pulsing almost.
Yeah. Okay. I think the knowing especially can be challenging to articulate. Like you said, I don't even know how to explain it. That's classic intuition, right? Okay. And the whole point is that you just have to trust it. And if you're sharing it with friends, they have to know that you're coming from a place of authenticity And then they have to use their own authority or their own decision making to decide what's best for them. And it's funny that you said something like, it's all I can do to keep it inside or to not broadcast it, right? And yes. I think as a projector, this is where things get tricky because you need to be invited in order for that knowing or that advice to land for the other person, right? And so just a tip, I think I've mentioned this before, but for any projectors listening too, is it's okay to ask for an invitation. It's okay to say, I got this really strong feeling about what you just said. Is it okay? Would you like to hear it? Is it okay that I share it? And be open to them saying no, and then you just have to keep your mouth shut.
Yeah, totally. That's good advice for me. I think what I've done is I'd ask them questions, to kind of, because I also feel like, and maybe it's, it's so interesting, but maybe I do get that feeling, but I must feel like they know too. So I just keep saying, well, but why do you think that? Or, and then eventually, I think I do. I'm like, I have this really strong feeling I have to tell you.
Yeah. Which is a beautiful thing.
Sometimes it doesn't go over well. So I'm gonna just ask to be invited. Right. I don't want your opinion right now, Brittany. Stop.
And that may be the case. And sometimes people aren't ready to hear it, or you may share and they don't follow your advice or what you said. And whatever, you can say, I told you so 6 months down the line when it all like
that's also hard for me to not do, is to gloat and be like, I knew it. I knew the whole time.
Yes. However, I do hope that for you, it just continues to sort of build that confidence in your ability to understand like how you operate and how your authority operates, because it can be tricky, I think, for those who have a splenic authority to get in touch with it, especially when we've been conditioned and we've been acting like generators and trying to feel a gut feeling or a flush or something that never really comes in the same way. So I hope that those examples just help to further ground you in your understanding of yourself and in your belief that it's okay. Like you need to trust that.
Yeah, definitely.
So I want to bring us back around to the wellness component and midlife women. Let's talk about eating protein, which feels to me sometimes like a part-time job as a midlife woman. Like, can you if you're walking by your refrigerator, you need to open it and grab a drumstick or something and just shove it in your mouth because you're not getting enough protein. So why is it so important as we age? And do you have any tricks for getting it in?
Yes, I do. And yes, I love this question. Protein is one of my favorite topics to talk about. So like we mentioned with strength training, we lose muscle mass significantly as we age. And protein is one of the macronutrients that helps us build muscle. So that's why, we talk about how important it is. We don't want to be under muscled. And honestly, as I think we're seeing now kind of a shift. Have you seen those memes and things on Instagram where it says, what I thought a woman looked like in her 40s, in the 90s, women tended to look and dress older. And now we see women who are 40 and 50 and they're stunning. I mean, look at J-Lo and these, so things just kind of change. And I think that we're picking up on strength training and the importance of that. And I really feel like the more muscle you have, the more youthful you look. I think that strength training and muscle building is really the fountain of youth. I'm trying to really get women to see that and appreciate that and realize they're not going to bulk up. It's so hard to bulk up. You really have to eat a lot. But so with that, with protein, yes, we talk about eating a lot of protein, and how much each woman, should eat is of course very individualized. So, I do help people figure that out if that's something they're looking for, and everyone has different goals. Some people want to lose fat. Other women want to gain muscle, and there's a whole range of everyone's goals. But so protein is very important with each of those goals. And one of the ways that you can sort of think about it, I like to say, let's say that, Lori, you were trying to eat 100 grams of protein a day. Do you have any idea? Do you know, how much protein you should be eating? Or are you kind of just thinking to yourself, I need to eat protein?
Yeah, no, mine is somewhere around 89, 90 grams, something like that.
Okay, yeah. So that's what you were trying to eat. And let's just do 100 just because that's the number for me. Yeah. But so I would take the number and I would just divide it by how many times you eat in a day. So if you were trying to get 100 grams of protein, 25 grams at every meal. And so, that can look like a number of things. If you're, you're having just 2 eggs and a piece of toast and a coffee and you're running out the door, that's only about 13 grams of protein. So that wouldn't be your 25. So you could add a piece of, turkey sausage or turkey bacon or, something like that. Beans. There's lots of things depending on if you're a vegetarian or you're trying to eat less meat. There's, protein powders, things like that you could incorporate. But so you want to try to get the 25 or, that amount. And then again at your next meal. So that's how I help women to make sure that they're getting enough, is we just divide it by how many times they're eating in a day. And that seems to make it more manageable than, oh my gosh, I have 100 grams of protein to eat and I've only had 60 today and it's 8:00 at night. And what am I going to do? To kind of divide it up. So that's one thing. There's lots of different meals. Like I love a good chia seed pudding, or, overnight oats with a scoop of protein powder in there. Just a really easy way to get more protein if you need it.
That's great. And do you have any favorite like tracker tools or anything that you use specifically, or do you just sort of go into?
So the program I coach, The Faster Way to Fat Loss, they have an app. It has I try to get protein, fat, and carbs, and then 25 grams of fiber, which is also something important that women should be focusing on as well. But and so I put in each meal and it tracks my macros for me, so I don't really have to do it. But you could always use my MyFitnessPal, I believe, also does something similar. So there's ways to kind of track it. But also if you're someone if you can eat pretty similarly, or at least breakfast and lunch every week, maybe just have 2 or 3 meals that these meals are going to get me to my protein goals, and then just kind of repeat every other day. So you just make it simpler for yourself. I love eggs, so I'm always eating eggs and some chicken sausage in the morning is kind of my go-to.
Yeah, love it. And there is a component of human design that talks about digestion. And there are different things that will support your digestion. And it's related to not only food, but also how you take in information. For example, one of the digestions is direct light. And essentially what that means is it's best for your body and most supportive if you are eating during daylight hours. So to understand that, for you, if you're a night owl, for example, and you're eating everything at night, then it could be just really taxing on your body, that much more, even if you happen to be eating the right foods. So it's just another place in human design that you can kind of dig in a little bit. So
that's really cool.
Yeah. So coming back to the human design again, your sun gate, which is, so your sun gate, anybody's sun gate is about 70% of your energy. And so because of that, it means it's pretty important. However, it's not always something that people immediately identify with. And especially if we're in the process still of deconditioning and trying to shed other people's expectations, it can be something that feels a little like, I'm not sure how that really fits with me. But yours is in gate 63, which is the gate of doubt. And essentially the gift of this doubt is that it is a gateway to truth, to your truth in particular. And the idea of doubt is, it's sort of like this skepticism of like, okay, that's coming into my awareness. I'm taking that in to my periphery and understanding all of the pieces, but I need to experiment more. I need to know more. I need to like play with it. I need to understand it more in order for me to kind of accept it. So, and your gate 63 is in your undefined head, which means that you're going to experience pressure to be really certain about things and to feel like you have to know things for sure. So I'm curious for you, working in the health and wellness industry and working with women to help them lose weight, I could see how this idea of doubt could come in really handy in your ability to suss out what is working for them, what's not. And again, bringing in that intuition, like if a woman comes to you and is saying, I need to lose this weight, it's not coming off, like being able to drill down below the surface to say, is food really the issue? Let's unravel why are you using food? How are you using food? So I'm curious if you could just speak to this idea of doubt, and have I explained it well enough?
Yes, I believe
okay.
so. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a very amazing question, because you're so right. I actually, just before we started recording, was talking to a woman about wanting to be a potential client, and just going through exactly what you just said. And, I hear this a lot, especially with women. This particular woman is in her 50s, and she was telling me, well, I eat healthy. I walk 10,000 steps a day. I'm doing all these things, but I'm gaining weight. And yeah, I have to kind of peel back the layers and really figure out what's going on. And again, it is so personal and individualized to every single person, as you know, human design. And to really kind of figure out what is going on. It's usually not what they think. Then I also get into other questions. A lot of people go to a doctor, but what kind of a doctor? Not all doctors are created equal. Just because you've had your blood work done, you may have a doctor who just sees it as normal. And in America, normal is not optimal. And they just say, okay, yeah, your blood work looks fine. It's something else. But then, maybe a naturopath doctor, or maybe someone to kind of dig a little deeper into your thyroid or your hormone levels, see what's going on. I mean, there's so many things. It may not be, like you said, the food or the workouts. There could be a lot going on. So I definitely feel like that plays a huge role. And what I do constantly is working with someone, taking I give them an assessment form, they fill it all out, and then kind of looking at them as an individual. And it's like a puzzle, and you're kind of trying to figure out what the big picture is. So absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so good. I could see how doubt would definitely be a gift in the kind of work that you're doing. I think some people who have this gate can feel like, what a bummer. But if you can see it as a gift and see it as the ability to really be more discerning, I think that's the key, and when you're working with individuals as a coach, I think you have to have that gift of discernment to be able to personalize what they're doing. So yeah. Right. Well, thank you for reflecting on that. And I have a question, which is about your profile. So you are a 2/4 splenic projector, and that 2 line is, there's a component of it that makes you a natural at things. You're just good at stuff. Like some stuff, it might feel to you like, I'm just blinking. Like, doesn't everybody know how to blink? But I'm curious if this comes into play at all with the work that you do with health and wellness, and How then are you able to translate it to people so that they can then understand?
Yeah, I love that. I actually get told a lot that I'm a good listener and a good sort of cheerleader for that individual. So a lot of my clients, I get very invested into them, and I sort of see their potential, as we've talked about with the projector being sort of the bird's eye view. I almost feel like I can see their potential, and I see their their problems they're having, and I kind of can almost give them a path, tell them maybe a path out of it or a different way to do things. And so I feel like, one of the things that I do best is listening to clients talk about, like I just mentioned, their struggles with losing weight, or all of a sudden they have this menopausal belly, as we call it, that all of a sudden pops up.
Meno belly.
Yes. And, so I'm just very motivating for them. You can kind of see their potential, and I kind of help them light a fire maybe where they don't even see it.
I love it.
Yeah.
So important. And projectors, especially aligned projectors, make fantastic coaches because you really can see, you're meant to guide, right? That is literally the energy is of the guide. And so such a beautiful career path for you, which wasn't always the case, right? You said you were in broadcasting earlier and then moved into coaching. So I'm curious about your pivot, because a lot of my listeners, midlife women, are getting to this age. They've been in a career for years and years and are starting to reevaluate a lot of things in their life. Career is sometimes one of them. So I'm curious about your pivot, and if you could just share a little bit about how that went down.
Yes, of course. So I was in television news, and I just started having these, well, to be quite honest, I had panic attacks. I was having panic attacks on air. And at the time, I didn't know what was happening to me. I just thought I was over caffeinated and tired. And, I never really got nervous, but suddenly I was getting very nervous on air. And I just was like, what's happening to me? Why am I having these feelings? And now I know that was a way that my body was giving me signs that something wasn't right. What I was doing was not in alignment with my highest self. And I think I was, young and just trying to climb the ladder and just keep going and not think about what I was doing, but more how I got to the top. I needed to make money. I needed to do this and that. And it just wasn't working for me. And my body was literally shutting down. And now I know that's why. And I did take a beat. I had a baby, and I kind of sat for a moment. I didn't know what I wanted to do next. And I think that this just sort of fell into my lap. I've always loved health and wellness. And then when I realized you could do this as a job, I just got excited. So I think that's kind of why. But yeah.
That's amazing. The panic attacks as such a great example of your body telling you what is up and what is not working for you. So I've experienced that before, and I know where you're coming from and how scary that can be. And I think, like I said, midlife women, a lot of them feel intense pressure around changing their career path at this phase in life. They feel like, I've spent so much time building it. I'm, this many years from retirement or whatever. And I'm sure you see in your clientele, people coming to you who are kind of compensating for that, right?
Yeah.
And they end up with other issues in their body because they just keep going.
Yes. Oh, yes. So many of my clients are stressed out, and they're not happy in their jobs, or they're not happy in there's a relationship problem. There's a stressor on them. And when you're so stressed, your cortisol is raised. That can also keep on the belly fat. There's lots of things like that. But just, if you're in a job that doesn't allow you to relax or be calm, you have to put yourself first. And I would say, ask your boss, I need a stand-up desk. I cannot be sitting for 8 hours a day. It's inhumane, or I need to go and I need to be able to walk for 15 minutes outside. People used to take smoke breaks.
Right.
Why aren't we taking walk breaks? Yeah, that needs to be a thing. Or get a treadmill under your desk, or find ways to make it work for your health. Also, don't let your health suffer because you have a desk job. I just want
to. Yeah. Oh, I love that. Thank you so much. They feel like Band-Aids, but they are important Band-Aids, versus just letting yourself bleed and bleed. At least address the small pieces if you don't want to make the big pivot right away.
Totally. Right. Yeah. Put yourself first as much as you can. If you are just, stuck in a position or a job that you hate and you can't get out of it right now, for health-wise, try to do some of those self-care practices.
Indeed. Well, Brit, thank you so much for spending some time today with me. And can you tell us where to find you, how to work with you? Tell us all the things.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Lori. So you can find me on Instagram. That's mainly where I do most things. It's Moom, MOOM, Wellness. I also have a website at moomwellness.com, and you can contact me anyway. I'll respond. Happy to chat.
Perfect. And actually, I should ask, do you work with women virtually? So if people don't happen to be local to Vermont?
Absolutely. Yeah. The whole program can be totally virtual. Yes. Yeah. Great.
Great. Excellent. All right. Thank you so much. It was great to chat, and I will drop all those links in the show notes.
Thanks, Lori.
Listen, the holiday season comes just once a year, and if you're tasting the 10 different cookies you're making for the cookie swap, enjoy them. This life is all about balance, and sometimes it gets out of whack, which is just an invitation to come back to equilibrium. Thank you so much for listening to Midlife by Design today. I hope it reminded you of some of the basics of midlife health: protein, lift heavy shit, and meditate. And if your meditations are telling you that it's time to do something for yourself, I'm inviting you to join us for the Wild Women by Design Wraparound Retreat, which is not just a retreat where we spend a week in Costa Rica. It's a sisterhood. It's the support you need before the retreat to show up ready to transform, ready to be spoiled, ready to hop timelines. And it's the support you need when you return home to real life. It's a wraparound retreat experience, and you, my friend, deserve it. See the link in the show notes, and feel free to book a call to chat with me about it if you'd like. And as the days grow even shorter, I'm sending you the strength to release what no longer serves you, joy to fill your days, and the clarity to be who you came here to be.